Hello and welcome to week 3 of the Collegiate Chess League's fall 2025 season. My name is Joe, and let's dive right in. We've got Division 1, two Titans, Texas Tech and UT Rio Grande Valley. These are two rival schools competing in the state of Texas. We've actually already got a match underway, so they started early. Let's check it out. Here we go. We've got Selvas, an international master, versus the Capybara Warrior. I'm going to take a guess that that's Martina, the board 4 from Rio Grande. And Selvas, that's Sebastian Lucas, whose name is always too long for the scoreboard. Kostolansky. Top board from Texas Tech, International Master, over 2,900. But let's take a look at if we have any other games going on. I'm not sure. But yeah, this match was supposed to start in 3 minutes, but these players are getting a jump start, it seems. I'm not sure if there were any other games that started early or if it was just this one. But maybe I could look it up. Maybe. The UTRGV team are hot off of their win last week. They beat the defending champion St. Louis University by a match of 8.5 to 7.5. So really as close as it gets without going to overtime, which is really impressive. I think that UTRGV then probably are the favorites if you go off of last week's results. But Texas Tech, they're hungry for their first win of the season. We've watched them the first 2 weeks actually, and they have lost to the Titan teams, the Missouri duo Mizzou and SLU. So tough to blame them, really. But I think that Texas Tech are looking to win their first match this season here in their match against UTRGV, who arguably are not fielding their strongest players. We see for the first time competing Maria, who I think is their second to bottom board, and then they have Martina as well as their bottom board. So I don't see a game having been played from Gleb Duden. Nor, let me check in with Ekin Osnier, who is a fan favorite for sure. He's been a veteran in the CCL for quite some time. Yeah, looks like he hasn't played either. And the only other person that could have played is Maria. So I think it's just these two that might have started early. Yeah, I don't see a game from Maria either. So, but yeah, this position's looking pretty good for Sebastian. Okay, I'm seeing the other games having started now. We've got Woodland Magic here. That's Gleb Duden, the top board from UT Rio Grande, playing against Raging Knights NC. That is Nathaniel Philip Moore, bottom board from Texas Tech. Yeah, we've got all 4 games having started now, which is great. Maybe we'll keep an eye on this first one because it started so early. So it's probably going to finish first. Let's see what we missed, actually. So we have a Sicilian, an open Sicilian. Knight diving in here, trading bishops. Knight takes on G2. That's a tactic to win a pawn here. Check first, then grabbing. Knight block. Queen steps up. We have F6. This pawn is hit. This bishop pinning this pawn. It's defended currently. Rook lift, that helps shield the B pawn, also creating perhaps some space for this king to get off of the D file, so the knight's not pinned. Here we have mate in 1 threatened. Always seems like a strong move, but black has this really nice counter, revealing the queen's defense of the mate threat on G7, but also just attacking this queen. Queen decides to step into E7, keeping an eye out for the mate. But here we see the rook is hit, the knight is pinned, this pawn is hanging as well. Rook's doubled now, renewing a mate threat. Queen steps back after being hit by the rook. Bishop, now knight is freed for 1 move to hit the queen. Queen grabs on B2, threatening probably a mate. So rook lifts, king steps up, bishop moves back, pinning the knight. 10 seconds now here for Martina. The Capybara warrior attacking the rook and cutting off the queen, but losing an exchange in the process, grabbing 1. Again, that's mate if the queen ever leaves this diagonal. So there's a check. The bishop's hanging, the knight's hanging, so black takes the knight, white takes the bishop. Now this pawn can be grabbed. There is 1 check, but that can be blocked by the rook. If you take this, you're going to lose your rook. So now the queen probably should come back, but no. There's going to be some sort of mate here. That's a fork as well. Rook check first, very nice. King here, now grabbing the rook with check, very smooth as well. And we see resigns. So that is game 1 of this match. Texas Tech, top board, getting a point against the 4th board from UT Rio Grande Valley. We've got 3 games remaining in that first round. Let's check in with Maria here, playing against Roman. Pyrie Roman, this is the board 2 from Texas Tech. Maria, board 3 from UT Rio Grande. And looks like, to me, a queen is hit right now by this knight in the center. So Maria should save her queen, probably retreating. Makes a lot of sense. There is a lot of pressure on this knight. Black can take this pawn, white can recapture, but you're trying to find the best spot for this queen right now. And where will this knight go? It could take, but yeah, that'll come with the tempo on the rook. Maria spending a lot of time here, trying to find the best place for her queen. She decides to go back to E2. And now we see the knight retreating, so not capturing. But this opens up a pin, actually. So black says, I'm going to take that pawn for free. I'm not going to allow you to recapture. So what now will white do? This queen can step up and pin the pawn. That was not played. That was the best move, queen h5. So rook here, we lose this pawn. Bishop steps back, pressure on the knight, connected. Yeah, queen h5 was an important move there, I think, to keep an advantage for white, keep an edge there. White was up a pawn, but giving the material back. And now black more or less has equalized this position. Both knights now putting a lot of pressure on this bishop. So originally, if you just take, white had 3 different ways to recapture. Now with both knights pressuring the bishop, there's really only one way to take, and that is with the pawn. White has castled already. Black has not. So black decides to castle now. And there is some pressure on this pawn, actually. If we take this knight, that removes the defender. However, black can take back with the pawn, and that would then be an attack on the knight. So the knight moves preemptively, putting some pressure on this knight yet again. Now the threat is to take the knight and then to take this pawn. So black probably wants to address that, either by saving the pawn, saving the knight, or making a capture or trade. So black decides to save the knight. They go back, and this knight is blocking our rook. So this pawn is protected. Now look at the time usage. Over 4 minutes for Roman. Less than 2 minutes. Less than a minute and a half for Maria. and this could lead to disaster here. Pawn push. There's a move here. Knight f4, forking queen and bishop. So the bishop takes that knight. Doesn't want to deal with it. Pawn takes is logical. I think black could have maybe tried taking this knight and trying to win a pawn. So we see a knight hopping in the center, offering a lot of trades. Bishop steps back, takes on c5, bishop takes. Bishop trade offered, as well as the rooks opening up. Bishop stepping into e3, very annoying. Bishop takes with check, king takes. And yeah, this bishop is a thorn in the side. So trying to remove this defender of the bishop. There's no pawn takes because the bishop will fall. A minute for Maria, and yes, we see black is going to keep that pawn there, renewing it with a new pawn. And this will double isolate the f pawns, but black is pretty happy with this bishop. Definitely a thorn in the position for white to deal with. That being said, white does have the knight, and they also have technically an outside pass pawn. These pawns are also technically passed because there's no pawn of whites that can stop them. So this knight might be helpful because it can control both light and dark squares in the yin game, which is more than this bishop can say. Black doubling on the c file, putting pressure on c2. This is not so easily defended because all of these squares are controlled by black's pieces. So the rook can't defend this pawn. The knight can't defend this pawn. The queen can't defend this pawn. So the only way to really defend this pawn that I see is pushing c3. The computer doesn't like that, so best is to give a check. And now we've actually cleared a space for this queen. And this is a much better active defense than what I could have found. Apparently it did like knight d4 though, actually, which is very surprising to me. I guess we would follow up with this check and then rook takes. That would have been really nice, actually. So check, queen d1, and the position's now really liking white. This king is a bit exposed to the elements here, cut off by this rook, and this queen's looking to join in on the action. Only 28 seconds, though, for white, so less than 30 seconds, but in a technically better position. Black probably should try to trade off this rook on the 7th, commonly referred to as a pig. We see the queen deciding to step back, watching out for this check. Now the knight is coming in, trying to bother the queen in the defense. And it's also a fork, hitting this pawn as well. So life seems to be pretty good here for the white pieces. Knight takes f7, we're threatening to go here. Let's check in with, we've got Gleb Duden top board, who looks to be doing very well against the Raging Knight National Master, bottom board from Texas Tech. Nathan, who only has 1 second, 3 seconds here. So let's see. Rook to f5. That is an annoying move because it attacks the queen and this pawn on f2. And this knight can't take because it's pinned here, and black finds it. A great move here. Queen comes back to c3. Rook takes f2 with check. King to g1, hitting the rook. This rook luckily is defending the knight, so we see an attempt at a trade here. I'm wondering if we can bring this knight back. Or just simply attacking the rook. And yes, you can trade, but the problem is your knight is hanging. So queen takes, this is going to be pretty devastating. If you went to the H file, you're pretty much getting mated. And you're pretty much getting mated anyways. Queen's trying to step back, rook steps in, and we see resignation. So nice win there from Gleb Duden, tying things up for UTRGV. Let's check in on this other game we've got going on here. Peto versus Bogdan Chess. Bogdan Chess, we know, is Bilovil Bodan. This is the captain from Texas Tech, the board 3 international master. Looks like both sides have about 20 or so seconds left on the clock. This is a winning position for black because of the pawn structure. It's dead even material. However, all of white's pawns are on dark squares. We see a5. Black has created a passed pawn here. And yeah, they have the same color bishops. So white is trying to put pawns on light squares. This pawn, ooh, I'm wondering, yeah. King here maybe. And yeah, white's going to try to capture this pawn, but black is in time to make a new one. A new outside pass pawn. Yeah, trading pawns here. Okay, computer does not like how this has been played. It's saying that this is now a draw. So let's see. Black could have done better. They needed a5, apparently. Yeah, capturing this pawn was a mistake. You need to capture this a pawn or push this pawn. So that unfortunately, I guess, gives the king a tempo to come back. And yeah, they draw this off. So good hold there from Peto. Ekin Osnir getting a half point against the Texas Tech captain. Let's check back in with Maria's game against Roman. We've been watching this for quite some time. It ends up being the last game of the match. So yeah, white had a really nice play here. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Rook here is able to catch the queen pinned to the king. So here what we needed was a queen lift or something, or maybe king a2. Instead, white thought they were winning the queen, but black says two can play at that game, and this pawn has to be held together by the knight. So we see one set of pawns traded, and this is where things went wrong. Here we needed a check, knight f2, or knight to b2, or even king g2, it's saying, actually. Instead, the king went the wrong way. The king stepped up to f2, allowing bishop b6 check. And now, oh, here we need to play the move b4, apparently. It keeps it a draw. End games are so tricky. End games are tough. And yes, black is just able to hold on to that pawn with this really nice bishop c5 move. The king cannot capture the bishop, as the pawn will promote. So king gets to c2. The pawn is unstoppable, and white resigns. So great game here from Roman, pulling through in the end. And that gives us with a 1-point lead to Texas Tech going into round 2. They're up 2.5 to 1.5. All right, here we go. Round 2 now. UTRGV, they're down by 1. They're going to have to come back somehow. So here we go. Gleb Duden now against Bodan. This is the top word from UTRGV versus the captain from Texas Tech. Bodan, the board 3. Gleb Duden, seasoned veteran with the white pieces. Both sides having already castled kingside. Both sides with a couple fianchettos. Black has a non-fianchetto bishop. Otherwise, all the bishops are fianchettoed. We've got a lot of tension here in the center. And yeah, these knights hopping around for Gleb. Knight here looks annoying to my untrained eye. But the computer doesn't recommend it. Like C takes D5, exactly what we see. And this pawn might actually be hanging after D takes C. But maybe not. Maybe this knight will become pinned. But you don't actually want to take with the queen. Maybe. Takes, yeah, in my mind, D takes C looks good. The computer likes the move knight to E3, piling up on this pawn. What else does it like? Rook C1, very logical choice. Very natural. Putting the rook opposite of the queen. So the top 2 boards from Texas Tech have gotten some points. Monchess, thank you for the raid. Hello and welcome, everyone. This is the Collegiate Chess League Fall 2025 season. Week 3, we're watching Texas Tech take on UT Rio Grande Valley. Texas Tech is up by 1 after the first round. There should be 4 total rounds if there's no overtime. Texas Tech is looking for their first win of the season, and UTRGV is coming off hot from their win against St. Louis University last weekend. SLU being the defending champions. Hello, Red. Welcome in. Let us know if you guys are a fan of college chess. If you guys know either of these teams, they're scholarship teams. So they know what they're doing. These students are getting full ride scholarships just to play chess, which is pretty impressive. I know what you're thinking. There's a fork. Why isn't he playing D4? And I thought the same thing. But in my mind, I guess one of these 2 knights can get out of it by attacking the queen. So right now, there are 3 of white's pieces pointing at D5 and only 2 of black's defending. So we actually see this trade. Bishop takes on E3. That knight's only defended by the F pawn. This is going to help open up the rook on the F file. However, it's going to double isolate the E pawns, creating a weakness that immediately black is targeting, bringing the queen in, putting pressure on that E pawn, which would come with a check, by the way. And we might have to see some defensive maneuvering here from Woodland Magic. That's Gleb Duden, Grandmaster from UT Rio Grande Valley. My mind goes to Queen D4, but we see Gleb retreating the knight to D1, defending this pawn, but also opening up the bishop. We might see a sacrifice here. White trying to bust open black's king. So keep that in mind. And this bishop is undefended as well now that the queen has stepped up. So this pawn is pinned. Here we see a strong move. Queen putting pressure now on E2. This knight defending that bishop. Maybe we could see rook C1 attacking the queen. Maybe trading a rook. But we could also see that exchange sacrifice like I had mentioned. But I'm not sure if white is ready to pull that trigger. This would be investing a lot of material just to open up. You would double isolate black's F pawns, but the question is there more? So it seems that white wasn't ready to do just that. and instead is bringing in a new attacker, trying to open up the king by removing this defender on f6, targeting the second knight now. So white's got the bishop pair, and you can see they're using him to their full strength. Here, black just follows through, taking a pawn. And once this pawn pushes, now that this bishop's not on the long diagonal, queen to g2 could be a mate threat if we ever leave our king with our bishop. So it's all about who hits harder, right? These players, they're throwing haymakers at each other right now. Bishop h3, saying, I'm going to attack your knight. I'm going to attack that rook. Black says, I don't care. Take. Go ahead. I'm gonna checkmate you on g2. Just wait until I push this pawn, right? You better hold on to this bishop. So they're saying my knights aren't worth your bishops, which is pretty funny because the bishops are so valuable and so strong. You hear about the bishop pair all the time. And white's using the bishop pair on these long diagonals, just targeting the knights that are just barely holding this king side together. You know that white really would love to just sack an exchange and break through the king and deliver a checkmate. But black's saying, good luck, because I think you're the one that's getting mated first. So they both have just over 2 minutes to figure this out. We also have 3 other games going on right now, so let's take a look at some of the other ones. Here we've got International Master Sebastian from Texas Tech, the top board, over 2,900, taking on board 3, Maria, a woman grandmaster from UTRGV. And it looks like Sebastian is up a point in material. Both sides have the bishop pair, but this is the connected pass pawn. I guess black also has a connected pass pawn, a little bit of pawn symmetry here. Not sure how that happened. Let's take a look back. So it looks like it was a Sicilian, a closed Sicilian, and both sides trading on these squares. And yeah, here this pawn drops. So interestingly, after the queen stepped up to d2, oh no, to c1 it seems, there was no time, I guess, for black to defend this pawn. So knight d4 played, trade, and now bishop takes, picking up a pawn. So a slight advantage for white, which is pretty nice. White can trade off that bishop. You can also bring the rooks in. Okay, f4. This is all-out aggression here, going after black's king. Really nice position here for Sebastian. Definitely the favorite to win this matchup, over 400 elo difference. And Maria, she's going to have to start picking up the pace here, under a minute now on her clock. The good news for her is that there is 2-second increment, but the more time on the clock, the better the position becomes for Sebastian. And here we can see black trying to double up on the c-file, but this bishop doing a great job. We see this a-pawn is also a key player, making sure that black doesn't try to trade off this defender. So it's going to be hard for these rooks to infiltrate, and it's going to be very easy for white to bring in their rooks, doubling on the f-file, threatening to open the f-file, threatening to push, threatening to take over the h-file. That's a main 2 threat, by the way, if the rook ever lands here. This bishop keeping a watchful eye, but that could always be cut off with just pushing pawn to f5. And if you're black, you don't really want to invite this attack. So yes, I would start with doubling rooks. Maybe we're considering pushing f5 at some point. Maybe even taking is very strong. But certainly doubling the rooks will be a good move here. Okay. Yeah, doubling rooks. Bishop taking a pawn. Well, we might just stick with this game, honestly. Pawn takes, tripled up now, threatening to just win the queen outright. Ooh, queen stepping up. Can we do something here? Queen giving herself up for the rook, and that's going to be resignation. Maria goes down. All right, let's check back in with Duden. So Sebastian, perfect 2 out of 2 to start this match, giving another point to Texas Tech. Their lead expands by 1 now. They're up by 2. 10 seconds for Gleb Duden, and we have a huge tactic, it seems. So yeah, this match, it was about the bishop pair versus the knights. And we see a trade here, picking up an exchange, but now it's time for the black pieces to work their magic. Knight f3, king stepping up, attacking the knight, but now the pawn pushes, which is threatening some devastating discoveries. Ooh, and now black missed their shot. They needed the move rook to e8, piling on the e-pawn. Instead, we see the rook coming in to c3, and now white returning the favor with a mistake, trying to trade off that rook, which is very logical. Here, the move that was needed is queen to b8, actually, threatening the back rank mate. There was a block on c8, and now we find the best move, g5, and somehow this is a draw. If you had done it a move earlier, what would be the problem? Bishop c8, and now you play rook a c1. This is ridiculous. Pawn takes, you take this, pawn push, trying to queen, and now the queen gets behind the pawn. Now pinning the knight, taking the knight? No, because there's queen takes rook. And oh, so we see a flag from Bodan. Bodan loses on time to Gleb Duden, who is also a perfect 2 out of 2. So the top 2 boards are perfect so far in the first half of this match. Here we've got a time scramble, ranging knight, less than 5 seconds. Peto, 10 seconds or less, 1 second, 2.8 seconds, making that move with less than a second on the clock. Only 2-second increment. 4 seconds here. That's a check. King steps up. That's another check. This king is absolutely exposed to the elements right now. Rook check. King running for its life, but now another check. Another check. This is going to be devastating. This rook is going to be... Oh, the rook's defended, but this king's probably getting mated is the problem. This queen doing such a good job cutting everything off. And there's mate. A nice checkmate by black. That is the raging knight. And we've got one final game remaining. So Nathaniel Philip Moore getting a point on the board against board 2, Ekin Oznir. So Peto goes down. And yeah, this Texas Tech team, they're thirsty for their first win of the season. You know they want to win a match. We've watched them the first 2 weeks in the season, and black 1 square away from promoting. Oh, they messed it up. What do they need? Knight c3 it needed to distract the knight. Instead, they gave a check, and now the king steps up. The computer's saying this is a draw with perfect play. Now it's saying white's winning. Look at those pawns. What was needed here? The only move is rook to h2. Of course, attacking the knight, defending this. And now white, they have to give up their knight, but these pawns are just so strong. Bishop check, just coordinating perfectly, and now you can play f7. You're going to make at least a queen. And, man, Capybara, so close. Oh, giving up the knight there. Check, fork, give up the rook. A new queen will appear, and we see resigns. Oh, Martina was so close, but not close enough, and that's going to be a point for Roman. Also a perfect 2 out of 2. So far, it's only been Gleb Duden who's won a game for UTRGV. Everyone else has been struggling. Ekin Oznir has a draw out of 2 games, and it's been losses from everyone else. So right now, Texas Tech, they're up 3-1. They won that round by a score of 3-1. What did I just say? They're up 3 points. 5.5 to 2.5. That's the first half of the match. We're going to be going into round 3 quite shortly. And there's only 2 rounds remaining for UTRGV to narrow that deficit. So I think they're going to need a big round here in round 3 to set themselves up for success in round 4. We'll see if they can make it. All right, here we go. It's the top boards versus the top boards now. Selvas, Sebastian, this is the top board from Texas Tech, up against Ekin Osnier, board 2 from UT Rio Grande Valley. It looks like White's taking the center with the pawns. Black's brought both of their knights out, ready to pounce at a moment's notice. This knight putting immediate pressure on e4, typically defended by the other knight. But White says, I'm going to grab some space first, kicking your knight back, developing the bishop to get castled. And that's going to leave space for that c-pawn to get involved. So not bring the knight out too soon. Now, it looks like Black has castled as well with the fianchetto. I'm expecting big things for White to try to bring out their bishop and double their queen behind to trade off. So we see a prophylactic h3 first, just blocking this g4 square from Black's pieces. Both the knight and the bishop could have taken advantage of this. And rook to e1, we see e5 allowing for our very favorite en passant. I actually don't think it's going to be played, probably because Sebastian doesn't know that that's a legal move. If I had to guess. Yeah, see, he didn't play it. He probably didn't know about it, is the problem. But that's okay. We'll have his teammates reach out to him afterwards and let him know. Okay, we have a couple pawn pushes here. Notice this bishop has not pushed out yet. That doesn't allow for the queen to double with it. So because of this pawn push, now the king can step up, and that will give enough protection over the h-pawn to prevent the dark square bishops from being traded. So we do see the bishop stepping up, but only to d2. Maybe x-raying this pawn ever so slightly. I'm curious to see how Sebastian decides to follow through here. We could see queen to c1, like I mentioned, but of course Black can just bring their king in. Here we see knight back to e8. This is telling me that Black wants to expand on the king side. I think we should expect this f5 pawn push. Very interesting attack. We see the knight stepping back. And what does this prepare for? Maybe the knight wants to go to g3. Yes, we do see f5 as expected. Ah, that's what this was for. It revealed the discovery of the bishop attacking the a pawn, which maybe Osnier forgot about it. I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, we see a couple trades. So Black decides to give up that a pawn in exchange for some tempo. So Black has some play on the king side. The knight now revealing a discovery on the bishop. So the bishop steps back into the center. Both Black knights reactivating, controlling some key squares. I'm looking at this e4 square. Knight here opens up the rook, trying to maybe combat e4. Right? It's also putting pressure on this f5 pawn, which is currently under attack right now. So Black needs to find something to defend this pawn. And it's not easy. You could push that pawn. Queen decides to step over. I'm always considering this b4 pawn push, but not sure if that's any good or not. We see knight to h4 insisting upon the f5 square. So Sebastian says, you want to give me that pawn? You want to expand on the king side and weaken your king structure? Be my guest, please, by all means, because I'm going to plant a knight on f5 and all of your pieces are going to become weak. So we see this pawn push that's trying to blunt this bishop's diagonal, but I see that this bishop is actually a very happy camper. Just completely opening up on the main diagonal here. And yeah, computer agrees with me. b4, lovely move here, just expanding on the queen side, kicking this knight away from an important square. And then what it wants apparently is bishop d4, which I personally am not sure about, but we go for this trade. Knight takes, queen takes. And the computer likes bishop e8 there, kicking the queen away. So let's see. Yeah, we see the trade. Yeah, the computer does not like that knight h5 move from white. These pawns are now doubled. We lost the opportunity to play b4. I think is probably a big issue. So black is much happier after this resulting position. What's up, Eskia? How's it going? Shout out to Eskia, my fellow Dutch citizen. Although I know Eskia is actually Turkish, which reminds me that the CCL has, for the first time ever, a team from Turkey having joined and playing. So shout out to Turkey. All right, Black says, let us trade queens because I don't feel very safe with my king. Amsterdam Open in 2 weeks. All right, mark your calendars. Hopefully we'll see some Eskia content. All right, and now a bishop trade offered, and the computer loves taking this. It says, please take. Followed by queen takes, but no. Okay, let's check in on some of the other games. We haven't really looked at all of them so far. So we've got the bottom boards. Maria's board 3 against board 4. Nathaniel Philip Moore. And yeah, this game has progressed a lot less than the other ones that we've been looking at. But yeah, Black looks a little behind in development. Definitely need to get this king out to safety. So this hits the queen, opens up the bishop. Queen should move, but where to? Probably f4. Computer is somehow, some way saying queen to g4, which I guess makes sense, knowing that you're throwing a punch against the knight. But so you are with queen f4 as well. So let's see. Let's check in on Capybara Warrior. Martina, she had an opportunity for this UTRGV team to get a point in that last match, or at least to hold a draw, but allowed some tricky pawns to promote. Here we see Bodan, the captain from Texas Tech, putting pressure on her knight. So the knight's got to move, otherwise, yeah, there's a lot of, like, I think weaknesses. The bishop pair is very happy here against the pair of knights. And also, black is just up a piece. It's up a piece for 3 pawns. It seems black is trying to trade off. Yeah, these are some strong central pawns. But these rooks don't really have a lot of squares. I feel like the bishops are just cutting so much into the position. So white snags a pawn and is offering a rook trade. So the computer does like trading rooks. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, you go here and just everything seems like a mess. It looks like black should probably pick up an exchange or something. King check, probably rook check. You got to block with your knight. I'm liking Badon's position, but the problem is the time. He's got less than 40 seconds, and Martina has over 2 minutes. And it's like a very similar rough situation here. This game we haven't looked at. Looks like there's just an absolute brawl happening on the board. Queen to g4 already, giving up the g pawn. That's a fork, right? White says, go ahead, take my rook. I'll take your rook. Bishop comes out, takes here. We're threatening queen takes. Knight says, I'll defend you. And this is so close, but of course this is pinned. So now white says, I'm going to attack you now with the rook. I'm going to... Yeah, rook here. What's going on? Rook takes g8 is possible. And why is Roman not playing it yet? What else? Queen to g7 is also possible. This move, you're trading off your rook. The computer still loves white, but it's saying, why did you trade that off? That was such an important attacker. So a defensive move here from white, but still a good opportunity. What's going on in this one? The Capybara Warrior. So it's a bishop pair versus a knight pair still. Trading off a knight. So it's it's 4 pawns versus a bishop. That's a crazy imbalance. What would you rather have, the pawns or the bishop? So the computer loves yeah, it likes this move. Why wasn't that available earlier? Ah, because of this. Okay. So we had to take a step out for that. Yeah, this is an exchange. So this is 3 points of material for white. It's a rook versus bishop pair and a boat ton of pawns. Okay, we have a result. Sebastian, now perfect 3 out of 3. Taking down Ekin Oznir. Check, check, rook over, check. And here, threatening mate. Pretty darn good move. Rook up, queen in. So, GG to Sebastian. Ekin Oznir not having his best day. Sebastian having a perfect start and increasing that Texas Tech lead. Where can UTRGV get their points back? It looks like this match here, Martina against Bodan, UTRGV should be winning. This match, it looks like Roman is going to take down Gleb Duden, which is huge for Texas Tech. Gleb Duden losing on the clock and on time. This was a bad opening, I think, for Gleb. This was not his best work. So we see a trade. White says, I like my 6-point material advantage, so I will continue trading pieces until the job is done. This pawn is indefendable, 1 second left, and Gleb will lose on time. So that's a good result for Texas Tech. Let's check in with Maria. This game, it's looking pretty draw. Both sides less than a minute. It's a rook and pawn endgame. White definitely has the better structure. Black has 2 isolated pawns and doubled pawns. So if anything, white is playing for a win here. We'll see if Maria can push for anything. But with perfect play, it should be a draw. Not easy to do with less than a minute on your clock. So maybe Maria can push for the win. It's up to the bottom boards from UTRGV, the ladies here. So it looks like, yeah, this pawn is pushing. This pawn is promoting. It's a queen versus it's a queen versus a bishop pair. Not sure if I've seen this. Check. Yeah, don't forget about those 2 outside pass pawns. Oh man, this is brutal. This is brutal. The pawns are going together. They're a tag team. They're pushing. The bishops are going to try to hold the pawns at bay. Okay. Check. No. Oh. You could take, you make another queen. So it's just straight up a queen versus a bishop, and we see resignation. So Martina getting her first point on the board. And we have the last game of the round. UTRGV still down by 3. But can Maria do something here? What is it like? King up? Did she just win a pawn? 2 seconds. 1 second. Gotta move. Rook goes down. But now white can just take on b5, and they do. King stepping up. 2 pawn advantage for white. Trying to push for this win. I would play g3. Nice and simple. Protect the rook, right? Here, just move the rook. and resign, or flag actually. So Nathaniel Phillimore going down. So the two bottom boards from UTRGV getting on the board, keeping things close. 4.5 to 6.5. Am I missing a point? I think Roman won, right? Ooh, so that's 7.5 to 4.5. So maintaining a 3-point lead into the fourth and final round. Texas Tech 1 full point away from winning their first match of the fall 2025 season. Can they do it? Or did I jinx them? Can UTRGV sweep Texas Tech in the last round to win the match? They can afford one draw. Anything more than that, and they lose. So they could force an overtime. We have round 4. We're off to the races here. We have a Queen's Gambit declined from Ekin Osnier, who is absolutely on the struggle bus. Only a half point so far. Him and Bodon from Texas Tech are going through it. So this is their last chance to win a game, unless it goes to overtime. So Pyrie Roman, perfect 3 out of 3 so far. Looking to finish the day a perfect 4 out of 4. Same as his top board, Sebastian, who's playing against Gleb Duden. Both sides castle, king side. Again, we see double fianchetto from white. I'm only seeing 3 of the games, so we're still waiting for, looks like Maria on board 3 against Bodon, the captain from Texas Tech. So, yeah, knight stepping back. This is pinning the bishop, the pawn, to the bishop. Let's check in with the Capybara Warrior, Woman Candidate Master. Raging Knight down to $26.99. The discount $2,700. We see a trade of knights offered, and white says, if you want to take my knight, be my guest. The computer did not like this, by the way. It said black should accept and take. And here we have bishop h5 check. And it's been given. Now, if you block, then we could trade. So Capybara Warrior will decide not to castle. The king is on the hike. Knight d2 is played, probably trying to connect the knights. So now black could take. King steps up now. Knight d to f3 makes a lot of sense. We could trade and then bring the second knight in. Black has the bishop pair, but a worse structure. This rook still needs to get involved. So king stepping up helps open up for the rook. We do see knight from d to f3. And now black putting some more pressure on the center. We do see the trade, and we do see the knight replenished. Hopping in the center with check. Black says, I cannot stand that knight there, so I'm going to take that. And we'll have a same color bishop in game. And now white's just thinking, how do I take this back? I probably feel like you take with the f-pawn, opening up our rook. But the computer disagrees and says take with the d-pawn, opening up your queen maybe. So I am curious to see what the Raging Knight will do. Okay, I see all 4 games. We do have the Texas Tech captain against Maria. The board 3s here. IM versus WGM. Bodon's still looking for his first win of the match, so this could be his last opportunity. Texas Tech only needs 1 point, so who's going to be the hero? That or they need 2 draws. But presumably they'll get more than that, just based off how things are going. But we can't count out this UTRGV team just yet. They did win against SLU last week. Maybe with a stronger lineup, but still impressive regardless. White's investing a lot on the C-file. Queen, rook, and both knights. There's going to be some x-ray vision going on here. What's up with yeah, this is a pen here. So here, I'm surprised not queen takes. That is a little interesting. But I guess black wants to keep an eye over the e-pawn. But the problem is that you don't really want to trade. So you're just inviting black in. So here, it wants bishop back to b2. What is it like? Knight e3. It liked knight here. So cutting the queen off, offering this trade, offering a couple trades actually. You probably don't want to take this knight though, because pawn takes hits this knight. Helps open up for your pieces. So, oh, they do trade. Takes, knight here hits the bishop. That bishop, the only defender of the pawn. You could take this, but that's probably bad going into that endgame. You could take this and try to take that, but that opens up the white rook on the c-file. That's an active rook as well, so you don't really want that to happen. This pawn push, I honestly am not entirely sure. I guess we're just trying to prevent c5. Let's check in with Bodon. Bodon is looking very good on time, offering a queen trade here. The queen is basically trapped, so hard to escape that. Taking will double isolate these black pawns. Yeah, this queen, I guess, was trapped from Maria's perspective as well. You don't really want to go to a6 because that allows for a4. So black queen goes to a4. And if white does trade, pawn takes, and that pawn's going to clamp down on white's b pawn. So even though black would have those double isolated pawns, they still do a good job of keeping white's pawns at bay. So right now the queens are kind of at a standstill. Neither of them want to trade. So let's check in on another game. We could watch the top words here. Sebastian working his magic against Gleb. So this was not the best match for UTRGV, unfortunately. It's their first time on broadcast this season. We technically watched their B team, actually, I think, play against Oklahoma. Okay, so this position, we've got some backward pawn here. Black would love to be able to push, but it's very much not happening right now. That being said, it could be prepared. Rook a5, defending. So maybe slowly but surely black will push the pawns. Black is up a pawn. Yeah, okay, going after this pawn here. Also very logical. So if white wants to hold on to that pawn, they got to bring their rook back, which they do. And now the king decides to enter. D4 check the computer loves. Black did not go for that just quite yet. Oh, because you can give up both pawns for that discovery. Okay. You invest a pawn back, but you win a piece, which would have been pretty nice. So opportunity missed from Sebastian. Can Gleb Duden bring it back somehow, or is all hope lost for the UTRGV team? Speaking of losing hope, Raging Knight is less than 10 seconds. So Martina, board 4, trying to work some magic. Queen check, king runs away. Computer did not like that. So what did it like instead? Oh, taking on a7. Obviously. Okay, so yeah, the queen helps the king, saying go back to your home, guard your a pawn. Whoopsies. Yeah, that's what happens when you have less than 10 seconds on your clock. You can miss things sometimes. So black is up in exchange for a pawn, but the pawns are not very good for black, but maybe that could help bring the rooks on the g file or something. So black is the favorite to win this one, but these pawns are pretty strong actually. And it's hard to play against this very strong bishop as well. I mean, the computer actually really likes white, so what am I saying? It's that time scramble though that's making me nervous. Pawn push, that's a check. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. King in the corner. Rook here? Oh, it likes queen d4. Yeah, rook here is what I would probably have done, which is what Martina is doing, but the computer does not like it so much. These pawns are very supported. Rook c4 makes some sense. Oh, we have a result. Roman takes down Ekin Oznir. So that's the match, actually. So Roman with the black pieces. And, wait. Wow, the king finds safety. Okay, so white's trying to stir up some trouble, but this king gets safe. And now knight check, pawn push, very beautiful. Wins the queen and wins the game. Okay, so that is game over. Ekin Oznir unable to stop Pyrie Roman, who goes a perfect 4 out of 4, which is an incredible score. And here, Bodan looks like he's crashing through against Maria, who is less than 10 seconds. So yeah, Bodan forcing the queen trade finally, creating a passed pawn. And yeah, white's bishop pair proved to be much stronger than black's. And that's 2 outside pass pawns to nothing. So Texas Tech, they're running up the score now, which is what they need to do for the tiebreak points. This game is a mad scramble. This game, both players less than 20 seconds, although the computer said it's even. But yeah, this rook is hanging. But white is down in exchange. Rook here's a blunder, apparently. But it was because of the move rook to c7, I guess. I don't know. All right, yeah, rook c7 is the move, apparently. So takes here. It's to prevent that check. Don't go here, obviously. Check. You can grab this pawn if you want. 10 seconds for Gleb. Okay, we're getting some more results in. So Raging Knight wins against Capybara. So Moore gets his second point. And we have Bodan winning, getting his first win of the match. So right now, this 4th round has been all in Texas Tech favor. Can Gleb Duden get a point on this 4th round, or is it going to be a sweep? Both sides less than 10 seconds. Rook down. 5 seconds for Gleb. 7 seconds for Sebastian. That H pawn is pushing. That pawn is hanging, now defended. King putting more pressure here. This pawn is pushing. Takes. Now this pawn is pushing. Rook offering a trade, declined, of course. Pawn push, and we see a blunder now, actually. What's the move? F5 was the move. F5 was missed. That's a check. Oh, that's another check. Here we have pawn push, defending. Only move. Finds it. Rook back. Rook here is a threat. The F pawn needs to push here. And it does. So now you could play Rook G1. Oh, but F7 was missed. Bishop steps back to defend. This is still winning. This is still winning. King up. King E7. King E7 played, and this bishop can always save itself and sack for the pawn if needed. Oh, black black tried to snag that free piece. But no, so Gleb will win. That's going to snap Sebastian's streak. That's going to prevent Texas Tech from sweeping on the 4th round, but the damage is done. Gleb Duden improves to 3 out of 4, but it's not going to be good enough. Final score, Texas Tech wins 10.5 to 5.5. So congrats to Texas Tech. They get their first win of the season, taking down UTRGV, who are hot after their win against SLU, but immediately extinguished as they lose by a pretty significant margin to this Texas Tech team. So congrats again to Texas Tech. Very solid victory. And I will see you all tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. We're going to be watching a Division II matchup between St. Louis University's B team and UC Berkeley's A team. And then we're going to watch a Division VIII matchup between University of Houston and why am I blanking? Georgia Tech, actually. Georgia Tech's B team. So if you're a Georgia Tech fan, it might be fun to watch. Also, shout out to Silva, who's a player from the Houston team. He's been a regular viewer. He will also be streaming his point of view of that match. So exciting stuff. That's going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 a.m. Pacific. And I'll see you all then. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. The Penn State game, Fabiano, I don't know. I didn't watch it. Wait, are you talking about the UCLA game? Are you talking about chess? Probably not. Anyways, I'm going to head out now. I will send you all off on a raid. I'm late for a meeting. I got to go. All right. Take care. Stick around for the raid.